All right, Frank, we're back with another merge conflict. This time, it is the heart and the soul of Microsoft Developer Conference. Microsoft Build, Frank. Day one, how was it for you?
Build it, Copilot, build, Copilot. We need some kind of... someone on Twitter said there was a drinking game. Every time they said Copilot and AI, you're supposed to drink. And I really don't remember any of the keynotes. So hopefully you'll be here to remind all of us, James, because I don't think they let you play that game during work.
No, I want to start actually a day before Build. Is it okay if we go back a day? And I'm saying we're recording this on the 21st.
So we like to talk hardware. Are you about to talk hardware? Is that what you're going to do?
I'm going to talk hardware? Oh my gosh. I'm going to talk about neural processing. I'm so excited. Hardware, maybe.
Are you going to talk about Copilot plus PC or Copilot plus PC? They didn't really put a comma in. I'm not sure where the plus goes. Sometimes the plus went with the Copilot. Sometimes it went in between. Sometimes it wasn't the right height. Sometimes the plus was just in a weird place.
So there's a difference between the logo and then the typing of it. So if you were to type it out, it'd be Copilot Plus space PCs.
PC. Okay. Yeah. These are a new generation of neural PCs, James, that are low wattage and yet high performance. They are just up your alley because I know you love to run neural networks on the edge. Every episode, I'm like, James, do we have to talk about running neural networks on the edge again? And you're like, yes, Frank, we do. So I know you are super excited for this. You want all the NPUs you can get.
Yeah, I've been running an NPU, the original NPU on my Project Volterra that has been doing that. Now this one though, here's what's cool about this. To me, I watched the Copilot Plus PC Surface. It was Surface reveal. It was 2-in-1. It was a device state of the Windows machine new specification guideline, which is the Copilot Plus PCs, which the new services are, but there's also other manufacturers that are building Copilot Plus PCs.
Okay.
Now, the ones that are specifically coming out are all ARM-based with the Snapdragon Elite X, which is very exciting, which we'll talk about more. But additionally, I believe I was just reading on The Verge or on Engadget that Intel will have some certified Copilot Plus PCs later on. And that is because there is this third thing, which we have the NPU, the GPU, and the CPU, and this fallback in it. And the whole idea, like you said, is that these NPUs are upgraded and they can do 40 trillion operations per second, or 40 tops, which is pretty impressive. And then, of course, they have all these other requirements. Like now it's like 16 gigs is the least amount of RAM that they have. They have like, battery life requirements. They have like CPU requirements. They have all sorts of different requirements. And AI has been super infused because we're on the edge, baby. No internet required. Not where we're going, Frank.
Yes. Okay, we should be good reporters. Yeah, so there's two Microsoft's Copilot Plus PCs. One is an awesome iPad competitor, the Surface Pro.
Yeah.
Pro. Yep. And then the other is your more standard laptop for those who don't like detachable keyboards. I still kind of like the detachable keyboard, James.
Now,
I go for the iPad killer.
And yes, the other one is more of a laptop, and it's called the Surface laptop, which I'm recording on a Surface laptop 4, and this is going to be the 6th. And the Pro, Heather had one. It's hit or miss on it. Some people love it. Some people don't like it. The one cool part that they do now is that the keyboard is now detachable because it's not only now it's got Bluetooth built in, which is nice. So that's kind of cool.
It is nice. Well, they get to take advantage of. It still has a kickstand, right? It's something just the iPad will never get. It makes it kind of wonderful because then you can actually position the monitor away from the keyboard. Go figure. Great idea, Microsoft.
It is a good idea. Yeah, it's like 2-in-1, and then I like their example, which is totally true. Is like on airplanes, they're like, as your space on airplane gets ever smaller because the seats are you basically can't do anything. So like they're like, now you can just put the detachable keyboard on your lap, and then your Surface Pro on here. So that's cool. No, and those are the two devices. Yeah.
I just want to mention throughout the whole thing and what happened on day one of Build, I found Microsoft having to play quite the little political game because they had Intel up there and they were doing ARM stuff. They were talking about all their awesome NVIDIA stuff on Azure, but they also have a deal with ATI. So it was like Microsoft being like, look, man, we're just going to deal with everyone. You got
Impressive.
a chip, we'll put it in a computer. You got a GPU, we'll put it in a server. We're Microsoft. Hey, whatever. We'll take it all.
Yeah, you got a, what is it? SLMs, small language model,
the Microsoft inventing terminology.
We'll put it on the device. Yeah. We'll put it in Windows. It's inside the machine, okay. Frank.
So let's go back to the 40 trillion operations, because that is obviously impressive. I do get a little suspicious when it comes to neural processing units, because specifically tell me which operations you can run that fast, because I tell you, it can't run every operation that fast. Yeah. It can probably do matrix multiply that fast, but that's not the only thing neural networks do. But at the same time, it's impressive. Playing a little bit of catch up with Apple. But I do like that things like the task manager actually show you NPU utilization. Yeah. Unlike Apple won't tell us how well we're using the neural engine. It's very hard to diagnose neural engine stuff on the Apple platform. Whereas I was watching some cool demo of these machines, and they're running an SLM. I think it was 2 billion parameters. I don't like the name. I don't know. You're over 1 billion parameters, you're an LLM. It's fine. They were doing that, running some image generation, playing Minecraft or something. And not the Minecraft part. The NPU was at 100% utilization and the GPU at 0% utilization. Yeah. So that's good. The hardware is definitely catching up with the software now. And that's just going to mean, well, what it really means is Copilot's just running everywhere on your computer now and all the time and in the background. That's what it really means.
Copilots for days. No, I am, to me, there's, this is my TLDR for people 7 minutes in, which is, to me, there was a big fresh breath in both a device launch and also then the keynote, which wasn't even technically the developer keynote, it was just the keynote, the first keynote, compared to Google. Very stark contrast. Keynotes, presentation styles, everything, obviously 2 different companies, and obviously WWDC will be different as well. But that being said, like, I do love my Surface laptop. I love my MacBook Air as well. Mm-hmm. But I'm just a Windows person all my life, and I do love Windows 11. I love all the things. But I think the cool part here was that it feels like this moment in time is pivotal, because we've been talking about LLMs and we've talked about AI and we talk about machine learning, we're doing all this stuff, and we've seen hey, developers integrate this stuff. We've seen copilots. Now it's starting to feel like it's more integrated into the operating system, which feels more natural. So for example, like just like live captions and subtitles and translation, like something you're almost expecting, you know what I mean? Like, oh, wow, but now it's doing it locally. Some of the art stuff, some of the things like that just kind of feels a little bit more natural. And I'm sure things are happening on your iPad and your iPhone, your Mac already that are using the neural processing cores already on that too,
Yeah, Microsoft Sherlocked a bunch of products on this, because they are just adding little AI niceties throughout the operating system, it looks like, especially when it comes to images and such. I saw you right-click on an image, a little Copilot icon appears. You can just have it generate more images from that image. Thanks, Microsoft. That was something I was working on actually for, I don't know, 7 years, and I never shipped. And so way to just bake that into the operating system. But then there's more mundane features, which, we're definitely in a buzz era, because AI is just getting applied to everything. And for due recourse, like background removal. Perhaps I should be doing some background removal or background blur with all this kind of in this show. But that's a little bit of a mundane feature, but it's good to say, like, Copilot background removal, Copilot this. And I think that we're just, I hope programmers have been keeping up, because a big pitch, a part of all of this is like, we're integrated into the operating system. Hey, developers, please figure out how to integrate this into your apps.
Yeah, this was like the moment where I think they did come out with a bunch of companies that have been integrating very similar, like what Apple did with like the pencil and for the iPad event. It's a good moment. I feel like this was very developer-y focused. Not only at the hardware event, but obviously the keynote as well. So I thought it was a very fresh moment. And yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I do think that it's this moment where, hey, there's not only these things being integrated, but what Microsoft did is they are releasing something called DirectML, which is basically low level or to the metal machine learning model access, basically. And from my understanding is how it works. And I think this is my interpretation. I'm not 100% sure, is like, if you're using these APIs, and I'm sure there's probably friendlier APIs built on top of it, because there's a whole Copilot API as well. So they're really productizing it, which is great. And again, I work for this company, but I don't know everything that's happening in the company. It's too big.
It's a big company.
But I believe when you're using these APIs and DirectMLs, it will go to the NPU first and then do GPU and then CPU. It kind of does like a fallback, for my understanding, because obviously not everybody has an NPU just sitting around on their machine. So it's going to gracefully try to do these things for you.
Well, I think it was Satya's keynote. I hope it was. I'll feel bad if I'm misquoting. But he said the future is the fusion of the two. Obviously, Microsoft wants to using Azure. Obviously, the biggest, heaviest, most giantest neural networks out there kind of have to run on a server. Consumer hardware has not got up that far. So he said it was a fusion, which was good for me. I for years I've been pushing 100% on the client, 100% on the edge. But in reality, I know in the future it will be a mix of the two. It will be distributed, is I think his words. And it makes sense. And they gave some good demos of that. For instance, you might have a big, powerful network that when given an image, can do something interesting like narrate your video game. You know, there's some fun demos that they did. But with the idea that on the local side, you're encoding the image, you're creating an embedding for it, and maybe you're just uploading like the embedding. Like you do a whole bunch of math on the client side, upload the results of that math, the network can then take that, apply it to its larger database, and spit down an answer. Those kinds of fusions, I think, are what Satya was talking about.
Yeah.
And that is a good use. Should we talk about the Minecraft demo? I don't want to jump away from hardware. We got what did we leave off on hardware?
I think in this, and again, when we're talking about this, is they also talked about how, you know, they're infusing and keeping up to date with all these new models, which means they've integrated GPT-4 Omni.
Omni.
4.0, not .0, 4.0 for Omni into the mix, into Copilot. You know, my assumption is it's being smart, right? It's like these things are going to be so smart where they're going to be able to know, can they go locally? Can they have this, you know, distributed system? But it's integrated now, and it's also available on Azure, which is cool too. So all these things are available. They announced that today. But one of the cool demos that they showed was someone playing Minecraft, and they're like, "This is me, by the way," because I know nothing about Minecraft.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's someone that's trying to figure out how to play because I want to connect with their kid. I don't have any kids, but imagining like Frank's a big Minecraft person. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it is in real time analyzing what is on the screen, what is happening, and guiding this person, have a conversation. And it really is that her moment. You know what I mean? Where you're having a real, to me, this is more of a, not a her moment. This is more of a Iron Man moment. Jarvis moment.
I hope so. Like, I would love it in design software. Of course, it got applied to a video game first. But yeah, so what it's doing, it's kind of like a screen reader. It's just watching what you're doing and being all creepy. No, it seems like they prompted it to be like, it's your good buddy watching you play a video game and giving you helpful hints along the way.
It's your co-pilot.
Go figure. It's really fascinating what it's doing. It really is watching the pixels on your screen, creating some embedding from those pixels, getting a response out of the network. I was a little unclear if that network was running up in the server or on the edge, because Microsoft did announce a network that can actually fit down on your little computer. And it was just narrating along. It's neat because in the AI world, we've had neural networks that could play video games. And to not cheat, they didn't have access to the internal state of the video games. They would actually just look at the pixels that are rendered by that video game. They had the same advantages and disadvantages as you. They could only look at the colors. And I thought it was amazing that these AIs could even learn to play video games at all like this. This is a next step up. This is a general network watching any of the pixels on your screen and creating some kind of narration. Now, don't worry about security. I'm sure don't worry about security. that was a terrible thing to say. I do have faith, though, that Microsoft will figure out a decent security model here where I'm not sharing my screen with the world. I didn't accidentally open up a public way to just view my screen. But I'd be willing to have, I don't know, the little AI Copilot friend was a little bit pat. He was a little bit annoying. But I could see giving it the right prompt and getting something fun happening there, especially watch me work in this CAD software and tell me how to do my house better.
Ding, ding, ding. Here's me in Photoshop every time. And then I'm like, how do I add a drop shadow and do this thing? And sure enough, it's like, I got to go to YouTube. I got to do this thing. Here's the other thing too, is they showed a demo of, this is where I think it's going to get cool. Is they showed a demo. Now we're kind of off tangent, but they showed this demo where I think it was in Kevin Scott's keynote at the end. There's 3 keynotes today, and there's a Guthrie keynote tomorrow. So we're only halfway. We're only a third through this thing. So they, I forget what her name was, but on the Kevin Scott's team or one of the teams, but she showed a demo where she was working on this Python script inside of Jupyter Notebooks. And there was some unexpected result that was coming out. So she just pulled out her phone, and was like, hey, can you take a look at this? Here's what's happening, blah, blah, blah. I'm not getting the right result. Now, of course, you could ask Copilot chat, stuff like that, and did probably as well. But it's like having a conversation going back and forth. Here's the results. Oh, I see you're doing this. Oh, what if you just change this one line of code? It's also having a conversation. It's almost as if I called up Frank and I was like, hey, Frank, I'm having this issue. Let me share my screen. Oh, okay. Change that thing. Bingo, bango. Right. But it was really neat in that aspect. But I could see it over how many times have you been working on your house and you're like, how do I change that thing? And then you're like, what? I had this thing. Okay, so we're doing these doors, and I have the drill bit that's boring the 1-inch the wood thing out, right, to put in the lock, and the wood got stuck in it.
Oh, gosh.
In the thing. So I was like, how do I get this out? And sure enough, I sat there 20 minutes watching YouTube videos on how to get it. I was like, oh man, it'd be cool if I just pulled my phone. I'm like, this thing is stuck. How do I get this out? And it would have just told me how to do it. Anyways, these things are getting really cool regardless.
Yeah. That is your Iron Man moment. Yeah. So, the Jarvis assistant, that's what we all really want. I'm not sure I'm willing to switch over to Windows for it, but that's a pretty enticing feature. So,
I mean, so if we look at these devices, now here's the thing that really gets me is that these devices start at $1,000, minimum 16 gigs of RAM. Apple, we're looking at you, 8 gig Apple, inappropriate. Now here's the cool part about it is that these devices, now they were doing benchmarks, of course, benchmarks are benchmarks. But their quote is 58% faster than an M3, not an M Pro or a Max, but 58% faster. And they did the battery life test. That's pretty impressive. It was really impressive. And they did it against their last year's model. And I have a 4. I don't even have a 5. And the 5 died pretty quick comparatively. Yeah. That was funny.
That was a fun demo to watch. I'm sure that's what they actually do in their stress labs of just have the laptop running and just through an automated script, watching a bunch of YouTube videos and scrolling around on the internet. The battery life looked good, and wow, shots fired against Apple. Every other time they show this thing, they're like, compared to an Apple M whatever. Are they 15-inch though? Was that a fair? It got me a little freaked out that they kept comparing it against the 15-inch. Is the Surface 15-inch?
There's a 13.5 and a 15-inch. There's 2. I have a 15.
There is a okay.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the big battery boy or something like that.
Could be, yeah. Could be. Anyways, I'm all in now. Here's the thing you might be asking. Now, let's get to the developer perspective. We talked about DirectML. I talked about some stuff. People might be wondering, Windows on ARM. How's that going to be? Interesting. Well, I've been running Windows on ARM for a long time. And I don't know if you've run Windows on ARM on your M1.
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Nope.
So I've been doing M1, and I've been doing ARM M1. I'm doing ARM development on Windows for like 2 years now. Project Volterra.
Okay.
I was an early beta tester, all these things, the early days before anyone knew about it, and it's gotten really, really good. And it's my daily driver. I use this every single day. Now, the things that they were able to show, now that was like a year and a half old hardware. This is new hotness, right? They were showing that they've tested over 16,000 games or 1,600 games. I forget what it is. Like AAA titles running at 1080p, 30 frames per second. Those are being emulated, by the way. It's not like they're recompiled to ARM, which is crazy. They were showing, I don't know if it was Borderlands 3 or something like that, but it was like running buttery smooth. And from a developer's perspective, Rider works, Visual Studio works.
Right.
They just released Docker Desktop for ARM out.
Okay.
There's all these other developer tools. I was using Podman for a long time, which is also great. But from a developer's perspective, I mean, I can't think of anything now with Docker Desktop out that there was something that I wanted that's not there. And everything, I can't really tell the difference between my machines, to be honest. Obviously, Edge supported ARM and Chrome has ARM now as well. And to be honest, everything just kind of works. It's been long enough, right? You give it enough time, enough juice. But I think also, though, the emulation software, kind of like the Rosetta version, has also gotten a lot better, too. And obviously, these devices are a lot faster.
I'll have to find the quote, but it almost sounded like they said a new emulation layer. So I don't know if that means a more advanced version of the last software, or if that actually means like we had some skunk works going on inside and released a new version. It's Microsoft. Anything can happen. I am curious. I want to take all my personal x86 apps and try them out. It's important to do that. That's what gave me confidence to even go down the ARM route with Apple. Now, Apple's pushing it real hard. Like, they don't want you buying any Intels right now. But at the same time, they pretty much every x86 app I've tried to run on the Apple has worked fine.
Yeah.
And I hope that Windows is at that level, because that's kind of what you need to get people to switch over. You can't have anything failing. And so good on them for taking that very seriously. I have to find out how well iCircuit runs on there. Test it out for me, James. Let me know.
I own it. I bet it works pretty good. I mean, the nice thing is that you could, probably even recompile that old one. I mean, maybe you... maybe. I mean, nowadays it is pretty easy to just recompile, but it's probably Windows 8 apps. So it's probably, maybe not. I bet it runs good.
Yeah, I have no problem with ARM for my modern apps, because I'm already doing it on Mac and iOS, and I do those versions anyway. It's just a compiler flag, throw it in there in your build script, get that fat executable with everything in it.
Okay, let's talk about total recall of the heart. Now, this is the controversy, non-controversial feature that everyone's been talking about. This is the one that basically it's categorizing everything you're doing on your computer, screenshotting, doing model work on it locally on your device. Nothing leaves your device. And then you can just ask the model for something. I could say, what was in the background of the podcast I did with Frank recently? I'd be like, there's like a cowboy hat, blah, blah, blah back there. And you would just pull up a photo of this. You can obviously do a bunch of things. Apparently there's a Mac app that does something similar, but it's not from Apple. It's a third-party one, which means you kind of need to open up stuff. I was listening to that on the tech meme. But I think this feature, I need to see it in action. I need to actually test it to see like how I feel about it. I'm not sure if I need it, but I could see it being like useful for like my parents or something, you know what I mean? or I don't know. I don't know.
No, it's got to capture the developers first. If we don't like it, no one will like it. Come on. I don't know. It's definitely one of those lab ideas. I feel like someone built it and people are like, this is cool, but it's also weird, but it's cool. Is it useful? We don't know. We kind of just have to put it out there and find out if people like it or not.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not too worried about the privacy. Is that the controversy? Is the privacy aspect of it?
Yeah, I think that's it. Everyone, most are like, oh, that's creepy, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I mean, but is it? I mean, it's like you on your computer. So
I get where they're coming from. I don't know. For like 10 years, I've been running Rescue Time. Do you know Rescue Time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been running that in the background, and it's monitoring everything I do, uploading to who knows whose server. God knows what information these people have on me. Maybe I'm a little too free and uncaring. If you're definitely in a corporation, you would have to check with your boss and all that kind of stuff.
Totally.
Yeah. But personally, like, just having a vague idea of how this stuff works, it's a pretty lossy format. If they're transmitting, which I doubt, honestly, I doubt they're transmitting data to a server. If they were doing it, it would be embeddings. Those embeddings are a very lossy version of what's on your screen.
Yeah,
It'd be hard to even do espionage with it, to be honest.
I don't know what it's all done on device, so nothing leaves the device.
Right.
I don't know if this is running on I think the Phi 3. I think that's the new SLM that they were talking about. Or is there a new one?
Yeah, that's their as far as I could tell, 2 billion. They were a little vague on how many parameters it had, but just for reference, I've been using the open source Mistral LLM pretty exclusively myself. You can go get an open source version of it and run it yourself, local for everything. And that's a 7 billion parameter one. And they showed Phi as being, though less parameters, Phi, still being performant against Mistral. So it's a little bit weird, right? We can't exactly talk parameter account for these things, but I love that they actually do have a local edge LLM, even though they call it an SLM.
Yeah. So I'm all in on this. I'm real excited because I have been using this. Now, here's the thing that I'm actually excited about the most. Now, while I am excited for the Surface Laptop 6, I'm excited for the Snapdragon PC Developer Kit. I'm signed up. I will definitely buy this. It's $900. This is because I was in my Teams chat and I was like, you know what I need is like, you know, a dedicated desktop machine, just like my Project Voltaire. I was like, oh, I wonder if like we're doing something new with that. And like literally I saw on The Verge, I was like, whoa, like the Snapdragon was the people were there. I think they had a session. They talked about this, and it's even a heftier one. It can do 45 tops.
45
tops. God. It's got it's got the Snapdragon X Elite. It has some GPU that can do 4.6 teraflops. 32 gigs of RAM, half terabyte of NVMe storage, all sorts of ports. It's basically like a little Apple, Mac Mini type of thing. But the cool part is that these things can drive like all these different monitors and all this stuff. It's super cool. But I was like, I want this. I'm in.
Those were more shots fired against Apple because Apple keeps limiting the number of monitors you can output to.
Like this one can do 28
on their Air
monitors. Yeah.
Microsoft's like, we just kept hooking up monitors. We'd go find another monitor. We plugged it in and it kept working. This is a really cool little PC. $900 and not cheap, but you're getting a pretty powerful machine. 32 gigabytes of RAM, small storage, 512 gigabytes of storage. And it is a cute little, like you said, not Mac Mini. It's even smaller. I love it. That's fun. I'm glad you showed me this because when I was looking at the Copilot Plus PCs, I was like, I don't actually want another laptop, but a tiny little PC. That's now you're talking.
Yeah. So I'm all in on that. I mean, I think, I obviously try to watch as much as I could day one of build. There's more build coming. I mean, there's all sorts of goodie bits that I think really trickled out. There's obviously tons of stuff with just Copilots being infused everywhere. There's a new GitHub Copilot extensibility model that came out. They talked about at Azure, which is really cool. So you can build your own Copilot, GitHub Copilot extensions, which is really exciting. So you could have an at iCircuit, and they could help you build iCircuits inside of VS Code. I don't know. They could do something.
No, we're not going to do that. No, but that is cool to open up Copilot because Copilot's becoming a main gateway. Like it's a main UI feature. So yes, add extensibility for it. It's mostly for other libraries. Did you keep noticing the acronym RAG keep coming up? RAG?
Lots of RAG. They just assume that everyone knows what RAG is now. So.
Oh my gosh, James, I've been doing neural networks since 2017. I'm going to keep saying it. I had no idea what they were talking about with the RAG at first because they kept saying it. I don't know when they ever defined their terms, but I was watching, and finally, thank you, presenter. They wrote out the acronym. I was so happy. It was retrieval augmented generation.
Yeah.
And this is interesting because this is very similar to you did a video on writing your own little chat bot or something, and you used a little vector database. And you were doing reg, James. You were regging. You were creating some embeddings. You were retrieving them. You were augmenting your prompt with them, and then you were generating. So congratulations, you regged before I regged.
Thank you. I do what I can for the people. Thank you, Stephen Tobe, for giving me the demo. I appreciate that. Yeah, they did talk about that quite a bit. And I think because there's all brand new SDKs and APIs across the entire stack. WPF got a little shout out. That was pretty exciting. But I think, during one of the keynotes, it got a little, it's like, if you want to modernize for WPF, it's like, boom. WPF actually just got in the .NET 9 Preview 4 release notes. There's a WPF section, and they have brand new themes, beautiful light and dark themes, fluent design, stunning. So if you got a WPF app, I'm telling you, it's awesome. But also to that point is that I think that all 8,000 of the databases available on Azure all now have vector database access. I'm pretty sure that's what I think it's where you're going, but I'm pretty sure that's true now. No matter what database you want, there's a vector. Vectors are available for you.
There's the graph and there's fiber, and fiber's a part of the graph. I got a little confused with the graphs and the fibers, but I did notice, what was I watching? I think I was watching Cosmo DB. That one had really nice vector column support, and you can even sort by vector distance. And they made a good point. There are a lot of third-party vector databases out there, but they're like, do you really want to split your search query stuff, your AI stuff from your main data? No, you want them kind of all together in one big database. And it's really neat that you can just augment your existing data models with just throw in a vector column. It's so weird. I can't believe we're doing this stuff. The future is weird, James. You throw in a vector column into your database, and all of a sudden you can sort by cosine distance, which is just multiplying and adding. I don't know why they keep calling it cosine distance. Stop it. It's stupid. It's cool. It's cool. I love that that's just baked into the Azure databases now.
Yeah, there's all sorts of just good stuff. I mean, just, browsing through, the news of the day, I think that there's obviously AI everywhere. There's all sorts of goodies everywhere. I enjoyed the keynote. Now someone was asking me, because I said, I was really excited, because I was like, this is how you kind of do a developer keynote. Now, I was a little bit being facetious, because it was just a general keynote, which is not usually the developer keynote. Yeah. But to me, it felt more developer-y than any other keynote that I've seen in a long time for the first keynote. Because usually, like we just talked about, there's a keynote, and then there's state of the platform, and then keynote. And I'll be interested in the Guthrie's tomorrow as well. And Amanda Silver had one today, which my voice popped up about Aspire, which is cool. It's my one tiny little appearance at Build. Is a 1-minute video that I was able to hobble together for her session.
I might have been doing it wrong. I was just watching the YouTube live stream, and I missed a few parts. So now I'm really mad. I missed James. I'm gonna have to scrub through.
There's kind of like this live stream, like narration story that kind of brings in some sessions here and there, and there's just like so many sessions going on. So they'll be available later in general. You know what I mean? I watched all 3 of the keynotes. I enjoyed all of them. Obviously, the Satya first 45 minutes, very succinct story arc, storytelling. I really enjoyed it. I just thought it was it was an enjoyable 45, 50 minutes of my life.
I like that they got Sam Altman over there. I mean, makes sense. Good big business partners. But I'm not sure I'm a fan of Sam Altman, but you have to respect what's come of OpenAI and what they've achieved. And it was fun to get his perspective. He gave a little advice to developers out there. I believe his advice was, go build something right now. It's a gold rush. Not as exact words, but roughly. Build as much as you can, as fast as you can. Use our API.
I believe that was the exact quote that he had. Yes. Yeah. Very true.
I don't know. I found it a little bit inspiring, honestly. He was calling it a platform shift, which is, every time there's a new technology, we call it a platform shift. But
Yeah.
I do believe in this one. I've devoted a lot of my time and energy to this platform shift, and I do agree with him. And for me, it's always been a time to build these things, and it's just it's nice. I mean, obviously, we're going through this big bubble. Everyone knows it's a big bubble thing right now, but it's fun, James. It's mobile was the last big one. It's fun to have a new platform and to be building something.
It's fundamental for us because we lived the last paradigm shift, and I remember Nat going on stage and we talked about how ubiquitous these mobile devices were. And it's like, if an alien looked down, we're addicted to, it's like they would think it's a part of us. And I remember these chemo moments, and there was a moment, I think it was Sam that said it. He was like, during the mobile stanza, everyone called themselves, I think it was him, maybe it was someone else, but he was like, everyone called themselves a mobile company.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're seeing that now with AI. He's like, but 5 years, it'll just be ubiquitous, right? Like it's just part of your ether. So, which means it is then a paradigm shift, because it becomes ubiquitous with all of these companies, just something that you do.
Honestly, and that's how I always saw it myself. I didn't anticipate the marketing that was going to come with it. I didn't realize that you would be calling everything AI. Like, I thought, oh no, this is just an easy way to add really advanced features to your app. I didn't realize that everyone has to rebrand them, go buy a new domain that's .ai. I should have iCircuit.ai. Don't go get it, people. It's mine. It's funny. I didn't realize that it was a whole movement. For me, it was always just an interesting technology. I didn't think it was going to be the movement that it's become. So that part's a little fun.
Yeah.
Definitely more inspiring for me than the Google one. I've never been a huge Google person, but I've worked at Microsoft, cards on the table. Although I'm mostly a Mac person these days, I do love the company, obviously. I like to see what they do. So I was more inspired by these keynotes than the Googlio ones.
Yeah, and it's fascinating too, because there was like these three like back to back to back, but they were different vibes to each of them. Obviously, Satya was like the power, more bigger introductory, but I still felt it was very still developer focused, which I appreciated, knowing his background, and how close he is to the product. And yeah, I just thought it was really great. And then so far, like I've been enjoying everything else, and I think the part of this, if we double click on or if we stop clicking on the AI parts of the day, I think there's this other aspect of what happens at Build, is that it's the moment where all of these teams are also releasing all sorts of stuff, right? We talked about all the databases. There's new Visual Studios. There's new Copilot stuff. There's just new extensions. There's just new everything. There's new power tools. There's new Winget stuff. There's new everything, every single app. There's, I opened them VS Code. Every extension got beautiful updates. You know what I mean? Like it was like everything's happening, and one of the most pivotal things that happened was this beautiful blog called .NET Announcements and Updates for Microsoft Build 2024. We saw it because I worked with an amazing team of individuals. This was myself and Rich were owners of this, and about 10, 20 different people combined on this. I stayed up very late at night on this post. Very good. There's two big posts today. This one, and then the .NET Aspire GA General Availability V, technically 8.0. Came out, V1, which is version 8, came out because we align with version numbers. .NET Aspire's out. Actually, what was fun is Jamie and Katie on my team partnered up this Inside Soccer, worked with our DevRel Studios team and then with the PM and engineers of Aspire, and they did a 9-part mini series, and we did a back-to-back premieres of it. So it would chain the YouTube videos together, all like 5-minute videos. Okay. Yeah. And Damian Edwards was in there, the main architects at PMs on there. And I think Fowler popped in, or other people popped in. But Damian was like, oh, this is like a beer crawl where we're all seeing who falls off in the videos, as we're going from video to video. But we played them back. It was a lot of fun. And the Aspire, which we've talked about a little bit here and there, and I've been doing some videos on, I've just been in love with. came out, full GA. So we're building cloud native
Congrats.
apps. I had nothing to do with it, but it's just so cool. .NET 9 Preview 4 came out, which is great. You got tons of new C# 13 features in this puppy, some new things in AI. So the new tensor primitive is coming out. So you do tensor stuff with your tensors, which is cool. If you want to do some remodeling of tensors and algorithms and all sorts of different things.
Is that what you do with
data.
Them? Okay.
Yeah, you do that. And you can, there's all these AI bits and pieces. So one thing that you might find of interest in this is we have .NET Aspire coming out on this aspect, but then of course in the AI realm, there's of course semantic kernel, which is just coming out with new revs. But obviously in the AI ecosystem, the team's really dedicated to it. So they obviously have Quadrant and Mildverse and all this other stuff. But there's going to be an official OpenAI .NET SDK as well that you can sign up to participate in cool. To get access to, which is really, really neat. So that's in there. And then there's integration for AI apps and the integrations into semantic kernel and these other things with .NET Aspire. Now, what's cool about that, and I'm glad that you asked, is that when you integrate it, because you use OpenTelemetry, it's basically semantic kernels integrated in OpenTelemetry, and it will show you how many tokens you're using, what model information you're using, and it'll tell you all this stuff in your dashboard to get insight into your application, which is really cool. So all sorts of stuff there. I'm just going to keep rambling here. Tons of performance improvements, new things in .NET MAUI, new stuff in Blazor. They have a new hybrid cache model for distributed caching, which is really cool. New Blazor stuff with all sorts of render mode improvements. .NET MAUI comes with some new Blazor stuff in there, but also new Visual Studio Code and IntelliSense. New stuff came out. They have new native AOT support for iOS and Mac Catalyst, which is out there now. So you can grab that and a whole bunch of other stuff. So anyways, that's a breakdown of the huge, ridiculous blog post. It's awesome. Go look at it. Amazing people worked on this blog, and I helped edit it. So boom.
I feel like we're going to be digging into that stuff over the next couple of weeks. It's too hard. Like you said, every team releases everything in just a couple days. So I think it's going to take us a little while to work through it all, because me personally, you piqued my interest on that native AOT. I know we've talked about it on the show before, but honestly, I didn't know they were going for Mac Catalyst also. So that'll be fun to give that a spin, run some performance tests, see what happens.
So there's just so much good stuff. And I'm excited about it, across the board that came out. And like you said, I will say, while I'm not at Build, my voice showed up at Build. I will say I didn't know if I was going to miss not being there, because I kind of made a conscious decision. A lot of my team were just, what's available, sessions, teams, announcements. Like, you don't want to go if you're like, oh, what am I going to do? Right. Wanted some stuff. Last year we had different responsibilities. This year I was like trying to figure it out. And it didn't make as much sense. But I will say, now I'm a little envious that I'm not there, because it was like so exciting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For the announcement. So it had been cool. It would have been, here's the thing. I think it was cool this year because I basically blocked my calendar to attend virtually. Whereas if I was there, I would just be working, and I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as most. I would be stressed. So I think that because of that, I was able to sit back and actually do the virtual attending. I'll do so tomorrow as well for GU and other keynotes. So I do think I actually attended Build for the first time in many years. I'm usually working Build. That's the difference, Frank.
Yeah. I think we've all, for me personally, I don't always watch it in real time, but I've been really happy that, I guess COVID time, all these things became so virtual that you could just get every session and you just watch it at your own leisure. And that's what I'm going to do. Day one, I almost always just leave for the marketing keynotes. I don't get too into day one stuff, but day 5 or 6, when I figured out which parts actually seem interesting, then you go back to the deep dive sessions and really dig through all the stuff. So I'm looking forward to doing all of that. And, well, I don't know. I guess adding more RAG to my apps and other things like that.
I do think that if you could integrate something into iCircuit to help you, I've
been trying for a while. these are general intelligent systems. They're not great at circuit design. Okay, they're just not.
Not yet.
I've asked them to do I know exactly. Yeah, like we're on the hockey stick. I get it. They're getting better though. So
what if you could take all of your eye circuits and put them into a model?
Yeah,
no,
that's it. I keep joking about the reg, but you really would do because that's establishing the context for the model, so it knows exactly what you want as your inputs and outputs, and so even if it's not trained on it, it can make reasonable guesses and things like that. The problem with circuits is there's just never been a good interchange format. Yeah. Everyone has their own file format. So it's been difficult for these neural networks to learn circuits because we as engineers never got our act together. The only standard we have for circuit analysis was designed in the 60s or the 70s and is atrocious. And that's what the poor models have had to learn from, sadly.
All right. Well, that's our, I mean, I'm really excited about everything. As you see, I'm pretty hyped up, Frank. I'm ready to go buy a new machine.
Are you?
I'm ready. Yeah.
Big question, because you're on version 4, you said, and they're releasing 6. Is it time for you to upgrade?
Well, this is my work machine, so I don't know when I get my device refreshed, because I just got refreshed like 2 years ago. So so maybe the next version. That being said, at least for personal, I think that my goal this year is I'm going to buy this developer machine from Qualcomm. The Snapdragon one. I think I'm actually going to replace my tower desktop PC.
Cool.
Like, I think I'm going to replace this Jumbotron, and I'm going to have this little box, and there's going to be so much more room under my desk now, Frank.
And I bet you won't even notice. You're like, yep, runs great.
Runs great. Well, because
it's funny.
And that machine the machine I have is one that I built. It's real old. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And it runs great. But that being said, I bet that this one's going to be like 1,000 times better. It's going to be like so much better. It's going to be like itty bitty tiny. It's going to be great. Okay, I'm so excited.
No fans, no CD drives, no floppy drive. How are you going to use this without a floppy drive?
Well, I have a USB floppy.
Oh, good. Yeah. Didn't want you to not have data storage access.
I mean, yeah, you have to have data storage. That's the only way, I got my zip drive as well, so don't worry.
Good. Yeah.
I have it.
Nope. Yeah. I was going to make a printer port joke, but it's played out. We're done. We're done with that joke, James.
Do you remember when you used to have the green and purple? It was like for the mouse and keyboard. Turquoise. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah. How else would you plug into the right one? You have to squeeze your head in behind that computer.
My parents had like the oldest printer in the entire world, and like the port on the back was like this big.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and then like I didn't even know what. It's just like trying to find something like that.
Parallel port.
Yeah. Oh, the parallel port. Oh.
As an electrical engineer, it was amazing. It was like 16 on-off digital wires you could play with.
It worked. It worked great. All right. Well, let us know what you think of build. We're going to probably do a build round 2 and other goodies next week. So let us know if there's anything you want us to double click on right into the podcast, mergeconflict.fm. There's buttons down there. There's things you can watch us on the YouTube. Just leave us a comment. What's your favorite thing for build? Let us know. We'll double click on it and go from there. But that's going to do it for this week's Merge Conflict. So until next time, I'm James Montemagno.
And I'm Frank Kruger. Thanks for watching and listening.
Peace.